choices every day. So today we are here to choose. To choose to forgive those that ask fiercely. What will it help to accuse? What will it help to find out what happened? Will it bring Pia back? Never. But we choose to let it go. And you all today have a choice how you will carry this story out into the world.
Yolande Korkie describes forgiveness as a process of claiming your freedom, not to be imprisoned by anger or hate. Her journey's been about claiming that freedom spiritually and physically, and living with the deepest integrity as one who forgives.
The Department of International Relations and Cooperation has confirmed the 2 tourists kidnapped in Yemen yesterday are in fact South African nationals.
On the 27th of May 2013, Yolande and Pia Korkie came face to face with Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. Their struggle for survival drew this formerly unknown couple into the hearts of South Africans. It was here in Bloemfontein that Yolande's journey with Pia Korkie began. She was a student and would visit him on his farm to escape the confines of the city.
I remember one night standing in his kitchen. We'd cooked and carried on, and it was midsummer, it was really hot. All the windows were open, all the lights were on, and the bugs were everywhere. And some were twirling around on the floor, and there were moths, and I was standing there saying to myself, wow, the poor guy's wife, you know. I dubbed him the bug man in my mind, and I thought, well, the bug man's wife's going to have a hard time. And there was this moment of, it's going to be you. And I like, no way, this can't be. And I pushed the thought away. And the next day, as I looked at Pia, it was as I was looking through a different lens. Pia was teaching at Grey College. I think he was just born to teach. He's got that way of wherever he went, people would listen to him teaching. And because he loved nature, it was so easy for him to talk about nature. He had a way of striking something in boys' hearts, young men's hearts. They just immediately connected. And we got married, and it was a wonderful new season of growth for me, living on a farm. I'd always wanted to live on a farm. He managed to keep both these jobs 100% under control. And Peter Ben came along, and then Lisa came along. They farmed as hard as anybody. We bought Peter Ben a little yellow overall so we could actually see him where he was running around behind his dad.
Life was good on the farm, but Pia and Yolande had a bigger dream, one that would set them on a new adventure.
2009, we decided to take that huge leap from living in South Africa to going to live in Yemen. Queen of Sheba was something that really interested me always. Her rulership, the way that she, manifested in history as a queen. And then I found out she came from Yemen. And there, this fascination with Yemen started. These Yemeni people, they spoke to my heart. Something just connected.
Anytime a child leaves home, going overseas, you don't know anything about the country, and especially taking the children with, your grandchildren, you have to think about the whole thing. Okay, I went overseas, I joined the Marines. Now that's being adventurous, and maybe she got it from me.
In 2009, Yemen was reeling under a 30-year dictatorship led by Ali Abdullah Saleh. But the country that the Korkies chose to live and work in also had a rich cultural heritage rooted in biblical times. It was a fascinating place for the young South African family.
It was a real adventure, eh?
We learned a lot, we really did.
Yeah. So this is Tahrir. It's the 3rd largest city in Yemen.
3rd largest city, cultural capital, became the intellectual capital later on with the revolution. The culture in Yemen, because it's very poor, did not have all the luxuries that South Africa would have. So electricity came and went. There we learned to be grateful for what we had and enjoy more each other.
We did day trips with my dad into the mountain. That was a highlight.
Taking pictures and, just having fun talking. enjoying the people.
Pierre's passion, of course, was also serving the poorer community into the mountainous areas. So he would on weekends go up and visit the little schools to try and get textbooks in, get equipment in. He would spend hours and hours sitting with them, and they would talk about schools. One of his specialities was just connecting with them on that level.
They were very friendly, very friendly. It's like mostly a men culture, so me and my mom would do things with the women, and my dad and Peter would do the men.
They could see that we were foreigners, but there was never disrespect. We never felt we were standing out in a way that we were drawing attention to ourselves. We felt we fitted into the community, people so friendly. I think the only thing that they could offer was friendliness.
Warmth, friendliness.
Yes.
You talk a lot about that,
yes,
the warmth of the people.
They would have nothing, and you'd be taking pictures like this, and the next thing that you'll be invited to lunch.
I think you told me that in Yemeni culture, it's said that once you eat with us, you're family.
Yes, they always said that. Yeah. Consider yourself part of the family. If you ever need anything, we're your family now. And that was how, when the revolution started and spilled over from Africa into the Arabian Peninsula, the foreigner community was leaving, and we were, no, we're not ready to leave yet. We'd become Yemeni in some way. I don't know how to explain that.
In 2011, the effects of the Arab Spring had gained momentum in Egypt and was being felt in Yemen. Yemenis wanted change, and the rebellion against Saleh's dictatorship was growing.
Change was very tangible in the sense that people were now nervous. In Taiz itself, there was a curfew now, and there was so much more military. The presence was there. The bombing started, the fighter planes going overhead, and they were saying, we're scared, the Yemenis. And our normalness changed, because actually it's not normal to hear fighter planes going overhead. But if you're in a warlike situation, your normalness gets pushed out. So what was not normal a few months ago is suddenly normal now. It's okay to hear the city rock on that side, because this is part of the life now. Yemen is a very tribal country. As the government was battling the revolutionaries on the front door, Al-Qaeda was creeping in the back door. So it was very chaotic. And Al-Qaeda doesn't have a place to stay. They hide themselves within tribes. Tribes that have been forgotten. Tribes that have been neglected. Tribes that are just surviving. And that's how you wouldn't be able to just discern them.
Back in South Africa, Pierre's father had taken ill, and in 2013, Pierre and Yolande made plans to return home. But the upheaval in Yemen delayed their exit visas, and Pierre's father died before they could leave. Desperate to be with their family back home, they finally received news that their passports were ready.
And the passports arrived, and on that Monday of the 27th of May, that morning the visas were granted, and we were going to go and collect them. I'd already started packing. The suitcases were all out. We got ready to go to pick up the passports, and I wanted to go past the stables because there was a sick filly. And so off we went, and yeah, it was strange to find speed bumps. It wasn't strange to hear shots going off in Taiz. It was war, it was revolution, it was our new normal. And that afternoon we didn't think the shots in the road was about us. We didn't think the road bump was made to stall our car, and they were there, ready, waiting for us to stop. It was so hot, and it was so noisy, and so it sounded and felt like a whole swarm of bees was attacking us. It was confusion, the shots going off, the car door going open, the shouts and the instructions. It was as if we were hearing this, but it's not about us. It's not. We kept thinking that, and even while I was being dragged across the road, I kept thinking this is not happening. But that moment when I looked back and I saw Pierre in the car and the gun pointed at his head, it was as if this is happening. We're being kidnapped. And then there's this void, this silence almost in your head. Everything is in slow motion. It took seconds. But for us, those slow motion seconds were the change. Time changed. Nothing would be the same again after 27 May 2013.
On the 27th of May 2013, Pierre and Yolande Korkie, two South Africans working in Yemen, were kidnapped. Their two teenage children were waiting for them at their house in Tahrir. No one knew what had happened to them. They had simply disappeared.
The Department of International Relations and Cooperation has confirmed the two tourists kidnapped in Yemen yesterday are in fact South African nationals. The kidnapping apparently took place outside a hotel in the city of Tahrir.
In the afternoon, we start watching one of the channel's news, and I saw at the bottom the writing come across the bottom of the TV, couple captured, kidnapped or captured in Yemen. And I immediately got up, and I knew in my heart, I called Korkie. I said, they've been kidnapped. We knew it. I just knew it in my heart.
We have just received a report from our mission, which is accredited to Yemen, that indeed those two are South Africans.
Pierre was very well known as a teacher to Grey College. So when they were abducted, it was explosive news right from the word go.
Usually when somebody is kidnapped outside of South Africa, we join a committee which is headed by DEPT, Department of International Relationships and Cooperation. And my task in that specific team is to support the victims in South Africa and to advise the process in the negotiation. But it is very difficult if you do not get feedback from where they are and are they safe, what happened to them, who is keeping them and why they kept.
We received a call telling us that they had been kidnapped. And all we could do was hold one another and just pray to the Lord that they would be safe. And then we worried about the grandchildren, you see.
The children had been flown back to South Africa with the help of the Korkie's friends in Yemen.
We felt like we were deserting our parents, we were leaving them behind. We didn't really want to go back.
The moment in the airplane when we left, looking down, knowing we were leaving them behind, that was a terrible moment.
Hours and hours. It took ages to get wherever it was we were going, and it felt like we were all over the country. We were in spaces, I think, where no foreigner ever set foot. Not knowing where the children was, I think in our minds, both of us were minute by minute thinking about the kids. Then, of course, being placed into a room and then not seeing the outside world again. That was final. That was so definite. Changing from being kidnapped to being now a hostage. It was a very scary moment.
In May 2013, I was in a meeting with some journalists. Got the news that there is two kidnapped. They said the American first. They said there's two American kidnapped in the province in Tahrir. After less than 2 hours, the confirmation came from Tahrir. They're not American, they're South African. Then my friends, they look at me, they are aware I'm working for a South African NGO.
Anas Al-Hamati was a journalist turned aid worker who was working for the South African NGO Gift of the Givers in Yemen. Before the revolution, Yemen was the poorest country in the Middle East, and the political upheaval only made things worse. Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, founder of the NGO, had visited Yemen and decided to open an office there, leaving Anas to run their operations on the ground.
It was like a dream. Before I worked with Gift of the Givers, I was a journalist and I know how's the situation on the ground in Yemen. Always it was my dream to help. I want to go inside the problem and make a change. I just check the Google, I just saw these two small pictures. This is all what I know about Pierre and Yolande. I just know they're South African. And I remember what South Africa keep doing for my country. I'm just trying to reply.
24 hours into the kidnapping, we were separated. We were really scared. That separation was huge. We didn't know then. So it took me away, and then we drove and drove and drove again. That sense of, I don't know if I'm going to see Pierre again. And within the next few days, when he didn't arrive and I wasn't taken back to him, that became a reality for me. I didn't know if I was going to see Pierre again. And I really started praying for this miracle to happen. One evening, the lady from the house came and she said, "He's coming, they're bringing him back." The night was long. I waited and I thought she'd lied again. And then I saw his feet underneath the blanket door. And I was through the curtain without even covering my hair, doing all the appropriate stuff. I was just through the curtain into his arms, and they were untying, while I was already in his arms, and they were untying the blindfold that I had around his face. And then they pushed us quickly back into my section of the room. And it was the last day for us, a day that lasted 221 days together. It was very, very basic. It was just a room. 2 tiny little windows without glass in them. There was a light bulb, but there was no light switch. We had no control over the light switch. We had no control over the bathroom, whether we wanted to go and when we wanted to go. We had no control when we would sleep and when we would eat and if we would eat. We found out later there was a whole cache underneath us with ammunition stashed up underneath us. All kinds of creatures creeping out. When the heat would soar, you know, they'd come out, snakes and scorpions. Escaping wasn't an option. Where were we? And who was the enemy if you left the war?
Day after day, I was thinking, how is these people? What's their situation? It was very hard and took very long to find the link. It's like search for the candle in a haystack. First, I visited the head of national security in Taz, and the shock was there. I had a meeting with him.
What do you think the shock was there?
I will tell you now the shock. When I got to Taz, in my mind it was like just that they are in the hands of the tribes, and maybe we can do something to release them. When I met the head of national security system, he told me they are in the hands of Al-Qaeda. And I see, so what I can do? It's Al-Qaeda. They aren't playing, these people. Then I said to myself, should I stop? Should I continue? After that, I went to the school where Pierre was teaching. They was very upset. They said no, they was a very good people. I didn't tell them that he is in the hand of Al-Qaeda because I know it's to give them more bad feeling.
It became a different season, one that was minute by minute, defined by minutes and defined by what the minute demanded of us.
I got the first connection with Al-Qaeda. It took almost 8 months. It was in December 2013. I was driving my car to the office. It was early morning, and he said, "Are you Anas?" I said, "Yes. Yes, I am." He said, "Do you still interested in the South African hostage?" I said, "Of course." He said, "Okay, do you want to talk?" I said, "Yes, of course." He said, "Okay, get back, come to Aden, and then call me."
Anas Al-Hamati, a Yemeni aid worker, was trying his best to secure the release of South African hostages Pierre and Yolande Korkie. After 7 months, he received the first contact from their kidnappers, Al-Qaeda, in the Arabian Peninsula.
I drove to this place, 4 people, face to face from Al-Qaeda. I avoid to listen to the bad feelings or bad ideas coming into my head. If they kill you, if they slide your head, if they do anything, I just leave these ideas away. And I think it may be they will keep me, they won't attack me because they need me, because it's negotiation. Actually, I have nothing to offer them, but it was the first meeting. It was a horrible meeting because I found some people who just trying to make a deal. Do you have a money? Take the hostage. They said, okay, give us $100,000 just to start talking. I got nothing in my hands.
When you're a hostage and you have nothing to do, it's really hard to get the time to go away. Every minute feels like it's an hour, and it's just endless. The torment of wanting to go home, missing the children. It feels like you're in a torture chamber. So Pierre came up with a couple of suggestions how to make this day go away. And he set us a routine out for both of us to keep to, and we would pray in the mornings for each other, then pray for the kids. Talk a little bit through scripture, we would sing, and he put me through this sit-ups and push-ups and do this and do that and 10 of this, and I just absolutely hated it, but it was such a good thing. It was so good because it helped a little bit with restoring some sleep, and it was almost a preparation for my return.
And then there was chess.
Yes. Ingenious, my husband. He managed from a cotton strip, disassembled the blades that he used for shaving, cut the chessboard out, and he taught me how to play chess. It was interesting to see our different personalities in the chess approach.
How did you deal with not knowing what had happened to your children?
We both said to each other we needed to give the kids off to the Lord physically. We needed to almost do a physical act of giving them off so that we could make it real for ourselves. And we took each other's hands, and on our knees we were on that cement floor, and it was almost like seeing Moses' mother putting him in the little basket on the Nile, and they're in the world, they're in this Nile world, in this crocodile world, but they're in this basket of prayer, and we had to let them go. And it took a decision of us, and it was sometimes a daily decision. Sometimes the longing for them consumed us, that we had to physically redo that ritual almost over and over again.
Pierre had been ill when they were captured, and in captivity his health deteriorated. One morning he woke up completely deaf.
It broke me apart because seeing him like that, he's already a hostage, and now he's in this space inside himself, and we can't communicate with each other. Imagining what it was feeling for him was just so bad, so hard, seeing him in that position. The confusion on his face, in his whole spirit. Lord, please, not this also. Not deaf. Not now I can't speak, now I can't sing, now I can't pray. We had moved into a new phase in our marriage where we were not talking but just holding each other.
2 or 3 days, I got another call from another group. I met them several times. They tell you the place, you have to wait. And they didn't come for 20 hours, but I was waiting in this place just to show them that I'm serious.
Throughout his mission, Anas was assisted by his wife's brother Sultan and supported in South Africa by Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman.
I told him to send me a complete breakdown of their body language, the words they use, how they create, how they were talking. And at one stage he kept on saying, they're very nervous, they're very nervous. And after 2 hours of analysis, I took the decision that it's okay for him to go in today with his consent, and he agreed that he wants to go in, but I hope it's a decision I don't regret for the rest of my life.
They said, okay, we need $3 million to release these people. Cash, new dollars, currency $100, cash in a bag. Just there is an idea coming to my head. I said, we can collect this amount of money. Just give us Yolande first. I give you my guarantee, that's when I give you my head if anything happens. They said, it's you will pay the price if you play with us. I said, just give me Yolande and I'm serious. I will follow my word. They called me the 9th of January. They said, we are going to take Yolande out.
The morning of the 9th, they came and woke us up at about 3, and said we were going home. Put the toothbrush in the plastic bag, my journals, Pierre took his journals, and then they pushed Pierre onto the floor and they said, she goes first. And it was chaos. It was total chaos. I lunged into Pierre's arms. He held me. No, what's going on? What's going on? He can't hear. I was trying to explain. And there in the corner is a man. He's saying, go first. Pierre will follow in the car after you. They try to separate us. Pierre pulls me back. He says he loves me. He loves the children. If I see them first, I must tell them. And they separate us with a gun, and out they take me, and I'm off. And I'm thinking, okay, well, they said they're going to bring him just now. He's coming in the next car. He's coming in the next car. And as we drove further and further away from that place, the lie just grew, and it's like a fetus, and just 8 hours later it was there. The reality was there. It was not coming.
That night I was waiting for Yolande. It was almost 45 hours without sleep. In that time, I spoke with Dr. Imtiaz. I told him, look, I'm going now to fetch Yolande. If any case happened for me, please take care of my family. I called my wife. I said, look, I make a decision, and the life is too short. I'm just trying to help. I have no any other intention. And God will help me in this. Just pray for me, and for your brother.
They put me in a house and they locked me up, and when I heard that door locking behind me, I lost it. I kicked the door, I hit the door. I was free now, and I wanted my husband, and I screamed at them. They said, well, decide what you want. You want your children or you want your husband? I don't have the words to explain how that ripped me apart.
Got a call. They said, we are on the way to Abiyan. Just come. It's very hard to cross the checkpoints of the militia and checkpoints of Al-Qaeda. And you avoid the drones. Can you imagine, in 2014, 2,200 Yemeni was killed by the drones. Sultan was driving very fast. I told him, you have to drive slowly, because you don't know the place. If anyone shot us now, because it's war areas. He said, because it's war area, we have to cross it fast.
We traveled again for another 8 hours. 10 hours, I've got no idea. I was put under a tree in the middle of nowhere. It was the first time I was outside. It was huge. It was too much. And I was very traumatized and confused.
They call us to come to the house of someone from Al-Qaeda. I change my clothes. I wear this T-shirt. It's like, I was very scared. I was very scared. If she said, who's this guy? I don't know this man. We was in the room with some people from Al-Qaeda, and Sultan and me. They all got the guns, weapons, Kalashnikov. She opened the door. She just looked. She was very scared. When you see her eyes, it was open like this, because she was very scared. She just looked at the people. I feel how she was feeling.
Seeing Anas with a green T-shirt and the South African flag on, when it was the first time that I realized this was really happening, I was going home.
We crossed the border between Aden and Abiyan. The two guys from Al-Qaeda said they want to speak with Yolande. They said, if you don't give us the money for your husband, we are going to kill Pierre, and we will send the head of your husband to you. I just saw her tears.
After 8 months, Yolande was free. Anas escorted her to a hotel and arranged military protection until her return to South Africa.
After he'd settled me in the hotel, he gave me his phone, and he said I could call him anytime I needed him. And then he said, lock the door from the inside. Don't open the door. And I realized that I now had, for the first time in 8 months, control over the door. His compassion and the way that he was talking with me, there was a genuineness. He actually managed to restore that little bit of trust that Al-Qaeda had broken down in the 8 months. He came back with plates of food on us, And with the phone, and the call of all calls that I was waiting for was the one from the children. It was as if our arms were going through the telephone lines and we were just hugging each other with words and thoughts, and it was an amazing moment to hear their voices.
It was the best day of my life. I guess it was Lisa's best day too.
But just amazing. I don't recall the words, but it was love. It was what it was. I'm sure it was just that.
Well, it was so emotional. I held her. I never thought that I would even see her again. It was just so wonderful that she was released. Just so emotional.
And we flew back to South Africa, and then I went through what the kids had gone through. Flying out, looking down, knowing Pierre was out there. It's unreal what that does to you. I was flying back, but I was still there.
When Yolande Korkie was freed after 221 days in captivity in Yemen, her husband Pierre remained a hostage. She was home in Bloemfontein with her children, but the burden of Pierre's captivity tore at her.
It was like changing gears, and I had to make a conscious decision that I was going to be okay. I saw the kids, and then I said to myself, if they need me and Pierre needs me, I'm going to be okay.
Yolande was determined to help Anas raise the ransom money to secure Pierre's release.
It was almost as if we stopped breathing for the next 21 days, and we were just constantly trying to see ways of getting Pierre out. So making sure they got the message that we were trying everything we could. Assalamu alaikum, Al-Qaeda, rahmatullah wa barakatuh. I'm again pleading with you to please release my husband, Pierre. Pierre is an innocent and honest person who served the poor people through his teaching. My 2 children and I miss him terribly. It was very exposing. There was no Pierre by my side. My confidence was gone. My covering was gone. I felt so naked and so vulnerable going into that conference, but there was nothing that I wasn't going to do to get him home.
Back in Yemen, Anas still had to face Al-Qaeda, to whom he had offered himself as a guarantee for Pierre's ransom. A delegation from the South African Department of International Relations visited Yemen to call for Pierre's release. Al-Qaeda mistakenly thought that they'd brought the ransom money.
While I was go out from the hotel, I received a call from Al-Qaeda. They said, okay, now from where we can take the money? I just feel that there is someone follow me, and they know I just finished my meeting with Ebrahim, and they called me in that time. I just listened and I said, oh, this is what I was scared. Now they will say I got the money from Ebrahim. I told them there is no money. They can't believe this. They said, don't play with us. In that time, I spoke directly with Dr. Imtiaz. I told him, everything is collapsed now. I don't know what I have to do. He said, go out to Yemen, fit your bags and take your family and go out.
I've no idea how we got through every day and night. For the next 11 months, I literally lived on the adrenaline. I was going, and I was ready to go for another 10 years if I had to. We're going to get Pierre out. This was the focus, this was the goal. Nothing else mattered. In one strange way, I was still a hostage myself. I remained a hostage with Pierre until he died.
Yolande was not alone. The whole country was with them. Daan helped coordinate the efforts of thousands of South Africans who made donations and carried the Korkies in their prayers.
The ransom was exorbitant. There are heart-rending stories about people who could hardly afford it, who paid their 30 rand. All different communities. It was South Africa putting its arms around the Korkies.
South Africans have expressed a willingness to pray together as one nation, as one race, as one spirituality. People used to call 1 o'clock in the morning and say, Doc, I've been on my knees the whole night praying for the Korkie family. We need to pray together.
I think we really appreciate that everybody prayed and everybody supported us and did what they can. You know.
Yeah, it really encouraged us to know that there's people all over the world praying for one thing.
After a few months, I sent a message to Dr. Salim and I told him, I want to get back to Yemen. I said, I want to return to my home, to my country. I will hide myself, and I got a good tribe, and they can protect me. I promised Yolande, I told her, I will send you your husband to South Africa. I'm just trying to implement my promise to her. And then I spoke to the sheikh of my tribe, told him, we need your cooperation to contact with the tribes in the areas was around of Al-Qaeda control, just to make a connection to negotiate again for peace. I told them, look, no one else know I'm inside Yemen. You will be in the control with the tribes. So you will lead the negotiation. I just give myself a hope. In case Al-Qaeda accept to release Pierre, maybe I can get back to a normal life.
My name is Luke Summers. I'm 33 years old.
In the meantime, Al-Qaeda had also abducted American photojournalist Luke Summers, who was now being held with Pierre.
Since I was kidnapped in Sana'a.
They had also unintentionally killed tribespeople in their area, and custom dictated that they pay compensation for civilian deaths. Anas seized upon a plan to get Pierre released without having to pay a direct ransom to Al-Qaeda.
We pay these people who's killed by Al-Qaeda. It's like a swipe. And Al-Qaeda give us Pierre because it's not cost a lot, and we will finish this problem. He said, I don't think Al-Qaeda will accept that. I said, we just try. Let's try to give them this idea. He gave them this idea and they accept.
There was some real hope again. This might be the moment that we've been waiting for. But of course, by that time, we'd contained a lot of our hope not to be once again devastated. Living with that phone in my hand, and just every minute could have been the minute that he would be released. 11 months, that was minute by minute what we were doing. We were constantly thinking of that day is going to happen where Pierre comes home. And we kept on preparing for that day. And let's get the garden ready. That was, for instance, one of their projects. They said, well, we need to get the garden going so that it'll look like Dad was here.
I was chatting with Yolande. I told her, look, everything is ready. When we get Pierre out, I will immediately let him see you.
We went and we had our hair cut. We filled the car. I bought some new clothes, got some food ready and froze it, and we were just getting ready. Spoke to Imtiaz early on the morning of the 6th. I couldn't really sleep well. I was very nervous. And just 5 to 6, he said these last words were, Yolande, the wait's almost over.
She said, okay, now I'm going to take a little rest. I said, it's okay. Everything will be okay. Because everything goes okay, actually, in the ground.
Sometimes the distance between one's spirit knowledge and your heart is very, very far. Sometimes in your spirit you know, but you know something's going to go a different way. In my spirit there was a sense of, I'm not going to see him again alive.
While Anas's tribesmen were preparing to meet Al-Qaeda and collect Pierre, other factors were at play. On the morning of the 6th of December 2014, American Navy SEALs launched a rescue attempt to free Luke Summers. Al-Qaeda heard them coming, and a battle ensued.
I got the call stating, sir, we have to meet. There has been a rescue attempt to release Luke Summers, and Pierre Korkie was killed in the rescue attempt.
And he said he wants to speak in English. He's got somebody from the American government with him. And when he said that, I knew something is now very wrong. I think he explained. He said Pierre died, but he tried to explain, but I don't recall hearing the rest of the conversation.
I got a message from my sheikh. He said, Al-Qaeda attacked our mediators, the people who was working with us, and they killed Sheikh Mohammed Saleh Al-Awlaqi and his companion. He told me, and Pierre was killed. Al-Qaeda was angry when our people, they came. Then Al-Qaeda, they said the tribes facilitate the operation for the Americans. So in that time moments, I understand that this is the end. This is finished now. From that time till now, I'm outside my country. I decided to build a new life outside Yemen.
Yolande Korkie has positively identified the body of her late husband, Pierre. His remains arrived at Waterkloof Air Force Base this morning.
Korkie died during a failed rescue mission by U.S. Special Forces in Yemen at the weekend. A memorial service will be held in Bloemfontein on Friday.
I've lost my best friend, my companion, my lover, my prayer-partner, He was such a visible example of God's love. If anybody had ever doubted about God's love, then you could have just lived with Pierre for a few days and he would have seen it in practice.
My special message to the American people and to Europe and people all over the world is, let's put down the guns. Let's see, the guns haven't worked. 15 and 20 years, we are no further from where we started. In fact, we've created so much of hate, so much of confrontation, so much of anger, that now the children are born angry.
As a good people, if we call ourselves as a good people, it's not enough to just keep quiet and you see the bad things running in front of you. You have to do something. You have to, don't keep quiet. You have to do whatever that you can do.
There are so many leaps of faith in the story, and many have paid a heavy price. Forced to flee Yemen after Pierre's death, Anas now works for Gift of the Givers in Johannesburg.
And now I'm here in South Africa, but I'm still my heart and my thinking is in Yemen. My family, they are with me. They ask me why we are here. We just left our house, my home, my family, my neighbors, my work, everything in 48 hours. The only thing that I understand, I have good intention to be a human, to help a human. Despite is Muslim or not Muslim or Christian, I just try to stand with this family. And I believe that God will never let me alone. He will stand with me.
We all had a sense of, we don't want to remain hostages. We want to be free, and we want to set whoever is responsible free. So we said we choose to forgive. It's a decision that we make. Grief doesn't end, it's a journey. It's the price of love. And that sort of encourages me to know, yes, I don't need to get over this now.
Yolande's journey to healing has been helped through writing her book, 558 Days. She worked with author Marietta Martens to share her story of love and forgiveness.
Oh, Yolande, hierdie stuk van julle huweliksherdenking, weet jy? Toe ek het vertaal het ek trane in my oë gehad. Weet jy, Yolande, hierdie boek is 'n boek wat mense nie net moet lees oor trauma nie. Dis die boek wat ek vir my kleinkinders wil gee terwyl hulle ernstig in 'n verhouding raak. Want dit is 'n huweliksboek hierdie. Ek het van geen soute water geweet nie, was verbaas toe daar op die 25ste Junie 'n piepklein plaaslik vervaardigde sjokoladestafie saam met die middagete opdaag.
In captivity, he just completely blew me away. When it was our anniversary, he'd arranged with the guards for one tiny little chocolate. I was elated. I couldn't believe that despite the horrendous circumstances, he would think of doing that. We shared that little chocolate and we licked the paper clean and we read all the ingredients in Arabic and in English and I think it was in French and I wish I could have brought that little wrapper with me. And then he went on his knee and he said, well, he wanted to wait until we got home after our release, but he wants us to have when we release, have a ceremony and reaffirm our marriage vows. And I'm so glad that he did that day. I'm so glad that he said that.
Family is very important to us. We try to support each other and yeah, we learned a lot of hard lessons through this journey.
I think our dad would have wanted us to continue normally and not stop our lives.
We're going to be out of the house at some stage, and I want to cherish the time that I still have, the three of us together. For the moment, if they go left, then we go left. If we go horses, we go horses, and if we go cycling, we go cycling, and if we go, and you know what, it's treasure moments. People must treasure the moments they have with their families.